Another thing I added real quick, unless there's anything else, was real quick. The Kyle Rittenhouse trials picking their jurors right now. And I don't know if anyone saw this. I forgot about it. It happened last week, I believe it was. But Judge Bruce Schroeder has instructed the prosecution and the defense that the two people that Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed, and to bring people up to speed, was last year during BLM. This, I think, 17-year-old kid went out there during the protest with his AR-15 or AK-47, whatever assault weapon it was, and just shot protesters. And then the police let him walk on by after he killed them with his guns. Didn't stop him, didn't frisk him, nothing.
I thought, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I thought he went out there, he was simply walking around with them, and they tried attacking him.
Well,
and then he shot at them.
And that's his defense, but also in the video, you see him going after people too. And the second he starts putting up his gun, people tried to disarm him because in this country there's an epidemic of people shooting, mass shootings and whatnot. So that is, I mean, you're hearing both sides of the story. Yeah. Obviously, that's something you would hear. Regardless of the actual the defense and the prosecution, the judge has determined that the two people that he shot and killed cannot be referred to as, quote, victims. He said the word victim is a loaded word, and I think alleged victim is a cousin to it. Instead, he wants them to refer to the two people who were shot and killed, who were not violent, as, quote, complaining witnesses or dissidents or looters or rioters or arsonists, even though there's no footage to show them doing any of those things. And this judge has a very, very complex past of being, some people look at him as being this man of great principle who stands by his beliefs, but other people say that he is extremely right, like on the far right. Regardless, he puts his own personal interpretation of things into his courtroom, whereas my understanding of the law is that's not what a judge is supposed to do. The judge is there to mediate the actual law. So how do you guys feel about the fact that these two people who were shot and killed who hadn't hurt anyone have to be referred to not as victims but as arsonists and looters and so forth?
I think they should be referred to as victims across the board. They were victimized. Something happened to them. No matter what they were doing leading up to that moment, they are still victims.
Exactly.
They died from it.
You don't just erase their death that way. Like, no.
If you die in an accident, you're a victim. There's no other.
Yeah, there's no other way around that.
I know.
Like
just call what they're gonna call them two Georges. There was two Georges.
Yeah, it makes that doesn't make sense on a technical term.
I kind of get what he says only at the beginning. If you're not going to refer to them as victims, then you should not refer to them the other way as well.
Right, because those are loaded words. Those are loaded terms.
Because so are the other terms. I'll agree that victim is somewhat loaded, but of course, we're assuming innocence because that's what the way our that's the way we work. It's supposed to assume innocence, so that's why it's presumed that the person is a victim. And I agree it's a loaded term, but so is saying the other terms, arsonist and all that other stuff. Because they weren't proven to be looters and arsonists. So if they were, you could refer to them as that.
The word alleged
if they were proven victims, you could refer to them as that as well. So it shouldn't really. I think it's loaded either way, and you should try to find a neutral term for it if you're going to stop the word victim, which that's the way I kind of feel. I understand the stopping the victim.
Yeah, every other
isn't that the term for every other case? Like, what do you call people that
it would be alleged? It would be alleged victim, or it would be
yes. So then it would be splitting hairs to just say, oh, for these people, we won't do that, because in every other case we do. And then once you do that, now it comes into a whole gray area of where's the line drawn? Is a person shooting at you, going to be considered a victim or a person that was assaulting you?
Just because you hurt them. Order for that.
His defense is he's the victim, right? His defense is that I was defending myself, therefore I'm the victim.
I mean, but how many times have we seen cases like that and we don't switch around the terminology just because of that?
Yeah, we don't call him a criminal until he's actually convicted of a crime, right?
No, think about this. Depending on what side you're on, your lawyer is either calling you a victim.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
That's a job of the lawyers, of the
Yeah.
prosecution, and of
Yeah.
the defense, is to paint the picture they want to paint.
Yeah, they have the right to use
Right.
whatever words they
Right.
want.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, I mean, I understand if the
But
judge
because I think the
wants to-
situation is political, this is why
Yeah.
I think the judge itself is
All
abusing
of
his
the
power
cases have been
to,
Yes,
political.
exactly.
Yeah, he's
you know,
so
further a political point rather than
he's showing his side.
the
Yeah.
law.
Exactly. A truly objective judge would just refer to them by name
Correct.
and
Right, exactly.
let the lawyers do their thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if whoever the court report, I don't know, Darius, you could shed more light on who actually speaks in something like this, probably working in the court system. But like, you know, whoever has to speak it other than the lawyers should probably just refer to them as their names
By
to be
name.
truly
Right.
objective. I would imagine.
Yeah, I agree
could
with
be
that.
wrong.
I would agree with that too. Yeah.
I know they have like victim or witness impact statements or something to that effect, where people come up and they speak about how, you know, the situation affected them. It could be the same for them too. They just have to set that
Well,
standard.
that's what I
But
always
I-
thought alleged was for. Like alleged's supposed to let us know that there is a possibility that this person
That-
was
yeah.
not.
But
Right.
he's
You know,
still
a
calling
victim.
alleged victim
Yeah.
a loaded term.
Or alleged, you know, and that was the reason
It
why
still
we
is, a
used
little
that
bit.
instead of
I think
saying-
we're in a day and age where we're nitpicking on certain words and we're changing certain words,
Yeah.
thinking that it's better instead of changing the actual problem.
That's very true. And we're
Well,
also
this
in a
is
day and
this
age
is for
where
someone's like
Is
this
that a
is law,
segue?
right? So this is a lawyer.
Actually,
Not.
no. Actually, no.
This is
But- sorry,
I
Taylor.
just think the reason that the word choice is even an issue is because, like I said, the judge obviously has a political agenda.
Yes.
And the lawyers themselves are trying to win a case.
Yeah.
So it would do them good to remove victim from anything that's
for the
attached to
defense. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
And that's the
So-
thing. We're in a day and age, like Ashley, you said, where, you know, trigger words and whatnot, but we're in a day and age also where the bench is loaded on one way or another, and judges no longer, not that they ever really truly did, but really more than ever, they're very blatant about where they're putting their prejudices and where they're
Yeah.
putting their opinions. And they're
They were
inserting it.
never. They can't really be impartial, though. That's the whole point. Is that they're
But you
supposed to
know
be
that going in.
convincible. Like,
Well,
you're
you
supposed to
take case by
convince the
case, and
judge.
even if you agree with the defense and you know that the defense might be telling the truth, if the prosecutors have enough evidence, you have to go with that because that's the way the law has worked.
Yeah.
When you do, that's really being impartial, regardless of how you feel. So I think it's possible, but there's too many people that obviously,
Yeah, I just think by
if
human
given
nature,
the
it's
opportunity,
impossible.
Yeah,
by
but-
human nature.
Think
But
about it
there's a
this way:
line.
as a
There's a line
lawyer,
that they're supposed to like be professional and all
Mhm.
that.
they're supposed to be
Delaying
professional and
judgment.
unbiased. But you know that there are lawyers like, man, I wish I was in, you know, Judge Smith's court today because
Mhm.
Oh,
Judge
yeah.
Brown, you know, weighs heavily on this or they're biased
yeah.
against that. You know, like lawyers go into this knowing who they want.
Yeah, but like some
Yeah,
judges
jury-
can be like, I
jury-
really believe in
judge
the
shopping
death
is what they call
penalty, and other ones can be like, I don't. But it's still based on law
Yeah.
and opinion. Like you can't just get an unbiased judge because that's
Yeah.
kind of like what you're paying them for, to like
Yeah.
weigh in on the evidence and decide what they feel is more true
Yeah.
within the
Well,
law.
This case is going to be it's by jury, right?
Yes.
I mean, it could
Yes.
still be the
Jury.
juror's decision can be overturned by a judge.
They
It's
can.
rare, but it can be.
Yeah. And what
And-
they
I
get
mean,
to
and the
consider.
judge-
Given the
Go ahead,
political
Shane.
It has to
nature,
be
I don't think
justifiable,
that'll be
too.
the case.
Yeah, but even
Oh,
so,
I
if the
hope
judge
not.
sets forth
that'll be some
the
bullshit.
guidelines, the criteria by
Exactly.
which the jury can
Yeah.
deliberate. The judge can take things out, put things
Right.
in. I did the
Yeah.
wrong way. Take
Yeah.
things out, put things in.
Yeah.
I mean, the judge did that in
That's what she
in Derek Chauvin's case. Like he had things removed that they couldn't deliberate upon. You know, and
Yeah, but we weren't in that room. You know, I mean, sometimes it's just like you can't unhear something. You know, don't think
Right.
of zebras.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That-
I
so-
mean,
No,
some-
you're
Yeah.
first
some-
on zebras. What are you thinking of? Zebras. Okay.
I,
You know?
Right.
Like Ahmed
I was
Arbery
gonna say
right now.
giraffe, but
The Ahmed Arbery case is going through jury selection now, and I forget the exact number, but it was, I believe, it was at least 1,000, if not in the thousands of people that they whittled it down to whatever lower number between like 20 and 100, whatever it is. I apologize. I was distracted when I heard that today, but you know, to get down the people who could
Yeah.
possibly even remotely be impartial. there's so much work goes into that jury to then be influenced by judges that are not impartial and giving
Well, I
them
mean,
the guylines by which they can deliberate.
We
It's
know
just
that
horrible.
juries aren't impartial though.
No,
course
you
they're
know,
not. They're
each
not.
side. I mean, each side is sitting there like vetoing
Well,
jury
that's
Yeah.
the,
selection.
that's the whole point
Whole
of
process.
going
You're supposed to
through
have-
jury selection.
Right,
is
right.
seeing which ones are going to be weighing to one side and weighing to the other, and making sure like you kind of have like a fair match of both sides.
Of shitty
think-
people on both
I-
sides.
I-
Right. There you
I
go.
feel that
I mean,
being
you try.
I feel that being a juror should be a profession. Towns should
No,
legitimately
but then
have
you're going to be
jurors.
bought. Then you're going to be bought.
What do you mean going to be bought? You still
I mean, I know I would. They say, "Oh, let's take you to lunch before you know." Okay,
No,
he's
Just
guilty.
lunch. That's all.
I'll
it
tell you
takes.
what. If I'm on
Guilty.
trial,
What now?
if I'm on trial, I don't want somebody that's there that doesn't want to be there. How many people hate going to jury duty and don't want to be there and just go, okay, 3 people said guilty. Fuck it. I'm just going to say guilty too. Let's just get out of
Oh
here.
my
That's
You know
god!
what I mean?
I really.
I would
hope
be
that
the
that's not
one.
the
I would be
case.
that
That's so
asshole in the
scary.
corner that's like, no, let's
Yep.
deliberate.
I'd
and
be the
everybody
one that
fucking goes for it.
if I think the prosecution didn't prove their case, whether you think they're guilty or not, that is not your job. Your job is whether the prosecution proved the case. And if
a
the
lot
Without
of
a
people
prosecution
don't
didn't prove the
understand that
case,
Without a doubt.
going in.
then it's not
Just without a doubt.
that's why they don't say innocent. They say not guilty.
Yeah.
Because if the prosecution didn't prove it, so I'd rather have somebody that wants to be there. You know, I mean, I feel
mean,
like
but,
if that's
But
a
then you
job,
can get a hung
If
jury
it's a
though
job,
too.
like,
Yeah.
do you want to be at your job? Like, I don't know.
I
Not
mean,
so
if
ma-
you took
not so
that
many of
job,
us
I'd
wanna-
hope you want that
I-
job.
You
I
want the
that
job, you just don't want
I
to be
listen
there.
to everyone's problems.
It's a
and
pretty
weird
cushy-
stuff.
It's a
You know
pretty
how I
cushy
feel,
job.
right?
It's a pretty cushy job. You have all these holidays off, right?
I mean, look at it this
you're
way
getting
though.
paid
Like,
by the city or the
they
town.
also
or the
during
Live
jury selection
crime
they look for people
TV.
like that though. They
What'd
look
you
for
say,
people. They look for people during jury selection. To everyone wants to, you know, usually try to get a split down the middle of like people who the prosecution thinks are going to go for them,
Yeah.
people who the defense think are going to go for them, and then both are also looking for those 1 or 2 people that are going to hang the jury, that are going
Yeah.
to stick to their guns, and then they
Yeah.
can get a mistrial or whatever the proper term is.
that
a hung
helps the
jury,
defense
do it
so
again.
much.
It does. It absolutely does. I mean, it's the legal system. It's the legal
Yep.
system.
But
It's hard to
Creating
know.
new
Trusting
jobs.
our lives
to be
to
creating new
other
jobs, it's
strangers.
great. I think it's a
Yeah.
great idea.
No,
Like I said, I just don't want somebody
I'd
there
run.
that got
I'd
pulled out of
run.
their job and it's just like, I
I'm
don't want
not
to be
even
here.
gonna
with
go
you
to
on
court.
one-
Why are you gonna go to court? So I could no. You on the
I mean,
lamb. That's what I'd be doing.
I've never received one of those letters that says I got to go to jury duty.
Oh, you'll
I
love
haven't
it.
either.
I did, and
I
I
think it's
fucked it
because
up.
I moved
Let's not talk
around
about
so
it. I don't want to talk
Never
about
received
it.
any of them.
Don't jinx us.
They're gonna find us. Yes.
Well,
New-
someone else I know
Actually,
got jury duty as we moved out of the other apartment. So,
I don't want to talk about those things. 'Cause,
I used to
you know,
get them
they'll
at my
find you.
parents' house, and I'm like, I don't live there. And it's like, if you don't, you have to show up and tell. I'm like, I'm not telling you that. I whatever.
Yeah.
Get out of
So-
here.
I missed a lot of those
So-
letters.
I bet you did. You're like,
That's why I
lost
said
my
I don't get
phone.
them. I don't get them.
I just keep moving around. I moved out like 8 times in the last 10 years. So, and
had
then they still
moved-
fucking find me.
Oh,
I
they'll
have
find you.
moved
It's-
way
Yeah.
more than most of you guys, and no one has ever found me.
That's what
And
you
you're a
say.
registered voter, right?
Getting stalked.
Yeah.
Hey.
The last time I'm still registered in the Bronx.
It felt really weird not
All
to
the way
vote
over
today.
there.
It felt really weird not to vote for
Yeah,
mayor today.
I couldn't
it
vote
was so weird.
today either.